Yes, sir. What's going on? It is Devon Johnson with the Showtime Forum post-game report. And another one. Listen, guys, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Lakers win, defeating the Bulls 117-115 in a game that really didn't look good at any given point. Small moments where it looked like the team was clicking, but the team was able to pull one out tonight. They were able to do it without Anthony Davis and the continuing absence of KCP. And so it's good to see the Lakers win, but for some reason, these wins that we've been getting have not been feeling good. And I know there's no such thing per se as a bad win, but there is a bad feeling win. And the team should be proud because they pulled it out. Of course, Anthony Davis, team with LeBron, is an unstoppable force. But I also believe that tonight LeBron showed that there's a reason why he is at the top of the list for MVP this year, because he just makes a difference on the floor. Plenty of things to get into tonight. We're going to talk about Frank Vogel and his changing up of the lineups. We're going to talk about Wesley Matthews, talk about Kuz coming off the bench as opposed to being in the starting lineup with, of course, two starters being out. And we're gonna deal with the big elephant in the room, that the Lakers' interior defense is not just lacking, it's non-existent. And because of that, teams are able to do things tonight. Teams are able to do things like the Bulls did tonight and expose us with our interior defense. And, shouts out to our guys, Marc Gasol, Trez, and even Keith. But these guys are not the bigs that we're used to. These are not the championship bigs that we had last season. Because we're going to dive into all of that. Of course, I'm going to be answering your questions tonight. Leonard Buchanan, I already see you in the chat, sir. Good to see you here on Periscope. Listen, we're not going to be long tonight for various reasons. Chaz could not make it tonight, but we're going to jump into tonight. So let's talk about the things that are good. I want to start with the with the good, if we can start with that. Really, for tonight, what we saw was solid contributions across the board. In losses that we've had so far this season, us right now with a 7-3 record, in losses that we've lost 3 at home. You're normally seeing an unbalanced scoring and a really lack of defense. What makes this team so dynamic is their ability to make up for the lack of interior defense with spreading the ball around, great ball movement. Our 3-point shooting is up. And when you have people like Schroeder, you have people like Trez, you have people like Wesley Matthews who's hitting, it can make up the difference. And tonight, that tended to be the case. LeBron, of course, led the way with 28 points. But look at these point totals. Markieff Morris scoring 11 points. Even Gasol putting up 6 points. Joining in with that, and then you have Matthews putting up 14 points and Schroeder putting up 17 points, and he had a couple of bad games, but he was able to bounce back from that. I see your comments already. We're about to jump into that. So the good thing is that you saw that, and then you had Trez with a double off the bench, 14 rebounds, 17 points, and as small as he was really in there getting offensive rebounds tonight. He had 7 offensive rebounds. I don't think you understand how crazy that is, that he has 14 rebounds in total, and it was 50-50 between offensive and defensive rebounds. He was battling. His energy was infectious tonight. And these are the good things that we can look at. As much as we miss Dwight, as much as we miss JaVale, and I see your comment already. We're getting ready to jump into that, the sports beard. We do miss that interior defense, and we still need it. But it's good to know that we can build off of Trez. It's easier to get a big who can give you straight defense with no offense needed at the trade deadline. It's easier to get that than it is to have a big and then try to get somebody of Trez's caliber at the trade deadline. So I think even right now we're in a good place when it comes down to looking at the trade deadline. We know we're going to make moves. You know we have Rob Pelinka, who's been pulling things, and you know he's probably already making phone calls, having conversations on some level internally, talking to Braun, talking to AD, and of course talking to Vogel about things that they can do to shift this roster. Because this is one of the biggest glaring weaknesses. You shore this up, this team is essentially unstoppable. Everything else really seems to click when they're engaged. It's the interior defense that it doesn't matter if they're clicked on or not. That is a glaring weakness. Let me get to this real quick. Free throws saved us tonight. Got to close out these games. That's, of course, Leonard Buchanan on Periscope. Yeah, I think tonight, once again, was good from the free throw line. We're starting to see those averages trending up again. 83% tonight, 23 of 27 from the free throw line. So that percentage is good, and we shot a high amount of shots. There was a pretty big disparity in free throw shots. With the Bulls only shooting 14 and us shooting 27. But the part that I did not like was when we missed a couple of those free throws. Schroeder missing a couple of free throws. Braun missing a couple of free throws, splitting free throws in crunch time. And of course, we still got the win. But when the 4 free throws that are missed by essentially 2 of your starters, that's a little disparaging. The Sports Beard, we need to pick up JaVale back from Cleveland at the trade deadline. Yeah, his length would be great. I don't know if that's even a possibility. I don't even know how that works when you trade a player in the same season and try to. I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to check into that. But I don't think JaVale's coming back. I just want to say that I don't think Cleveland's giving up JaVale for whatever, and we don't really have anything that we can do to fix that. And so I think what we're going to have to do is pick up somebody on a buyout. I think that's going to be far more likely on our side. But yeah, I mean, it would have been great to keep JaVale. I know JaVale wanted to stay here. He had no intentions of wanting to leave, but he was necessary in order to make room for the roster that we currently have. So I don't know how it's going to work, but I know we're going to make something work at the trade deadline. I just don't think it's JaVale. I still say Gasol needs to stop attempting threes. That's Al Sanchez on Periscope. Yeah, Gasol has to, like I said, he has to shoot threes. He only shot 2 tonight, but he has to shoot threes to keep the defense honest. If he does not do that, then it leaves you with an issue where people are able to sag off the 3-point line, which takes away his number one asset. His number one asset is being able to pass. I don't care what he does. Everything else he does is just butter on top. But him being able to pass is a big deal. And so when you keep him at the high point, what keeps defenders on him is if he threatens to shoot the 3. And the closer they get to him, the easier it is for him to find the passing lane. He already has the length. So he can see over his defender for the most part. But if he can get that 5 to come out and meet him at the line, then what it does is it allows all the other perimeter shooters to make cuts, to cut around, and it leaves that interior open. And Marc Gasol's going to find him on a bounce pass. He already has highlights on that, but it does not. You don't open up the floor that way if he's not shooting threes or at least attempting them. And he's going to hit a couple. I know. Listen, Matthews missed a bunch of threes, and he's gotten more consistent. Mark's going to find his rhythm. Tonight he had 19 minutes there tonight and had 6 points and did his thing. Blake Sinclair, you mean Chaz isn't here to pump up his star Kuzma? Let's talk about it real quick. No, Chaz is not here tonight, but Vogel did something very different tonight. I think most of us anticipated, hearing that AD was out, and of course KCP is still out trying to nurse that ankle, we just anticipated that Kuz would be coming in with somebody else. And tonight, Vogel did something that was unexpected, but I understood why he did it. Tonight, he left Kuz on the bench with 2 starting rotations open due to injuries, and he allowed Matthews and Keefe to get the start. And I got to be honest with you, even though Wesley Matthews was a minus six, Matthews was doing the things that is necessary to make this offense really shine, man. He hit threes. He hit 4 of 8 threes. And this is something that we were really looking for Kuzma to do, and he can do it from time to time. But it seems like Wesley Matthews is really finding his rhythm. And so he got the start tonight. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if we had the same exact scenario on the next game, if Vogel goes with the same lineup. If KCP is still out and AD is still out, I wouldn't be shocked if he goes with that same lineup. Of course, it's always dependent upon how things go in practice and things like that. But tonight showed that. And Markieff Morris contributed as well. 29 minutes with 11 points, 5 of 8 shooting. He shot. He only made 1 of his threes, but he had 6 rebounds tonight And these are things that we're talking about. Can I get rebounding? Can I get 3-point scoring? When you have LeBron James at the point, doing what he did in the fourth quarter, are there people that he can trust to hit shots, especially from the 3-point line when he drives to the hoop and the defense collapses on him? So tonight, it was shocking to see that. But Kuz played 17 minutes tonight. He played low. He played less minutes than Marc Gasol against a very athletic Bulls team, which is very strange to see. With the Bulls being athletic and young as they are, with Zach LaVine leading the way, you would think that Kuzma would get more rep. Kuzma did not get the rep tonight that I thought he was going to get. He had 17 minutes. He shot 2 or 3 from 3, so he was actually pretty consistent. He made 2 threes for 6 points, but you're starting to see that Vogel is really starting to experiment and see what's working and what's not. And he gave Kuzma an opportunity. They've already stated in the offseason what they wanted this guy to do. And it seems like he's had some progress in certain areas, but the consistency just doesn't seem to be there. Al Sanchez, Kuzma's plus minus is -6. LaVine was having a field day off of him. Yeah, but mind you, Schroeder, Matthews were both negative in there. Harrell had a plus 11. So the plus minus, not to negate it, because it is true. He was a -6. There's no way around that. I don't want to read too far into that. That, to me, wasn't so much the issue. Even if he would have had +6 tonight, I didn't like Kuzma only getting 17 minutes, but it shows you that Vogel is not afraid to tinker with people's minutes. And so I don't know what the future holds for Kuzma as far as these rotations go. Much of this is all going to be dependent upon when we're back to full strength again, and then dependent upon who goes out because of protocols and things like that. We lost Caruso for some time. We've lost KCP now for some time. AD is out. I don't know how long he'll be out. But these are things that we're going to have to figure out. And you're really not going to have a solid rotation until they figure out where the playoffs are going to be played. I would anticipate they're going to be in a bubble somewhere. And if it's in a bubble, that's going to benefit everything, because that means we could be a full strength and not having to worry about protocol. But we'll see. Blake Sinclair, a no AD game, and Kuzma still didn't show up. Yes, it is true. Kuzma didn't show up, but the person who did show up was this man right here, Wesley Matthews. And I want to take a moment real quick to talk about Wesley Matthews. Now, obviously, with 10 games gone so far into the season of a 75-game season, it's really not enough of a sample size. But what I believe is that Wesley Matthews has number one been given the green light to shoot. You're noticing that his shooting has not only gone up in attempts, but it's also gone up in makes, and it also has his release time has shortened tremendously. So now he's just catching it and shooting it. I really do believe they have given him the talk and said, listen, just go for it. Shoot the shot. And because he's doing that, you're finding that his catch and shoot ability actually makes a difference. Tonight, his defense came in to play. Zach LaVine trying to go up. He blocks him from behind. These are things that we're looking... That's one of the reasons why we signed Wesley Matthews. It's almost like he was Kuzma insurance. We're looking for somebody who can shoot threes, catch and shoot, who can be at least a legitimate defender that's able to at least hold, right? And tonight, obviously Zach LaVine was doing his thing tonight, and I don't think there was anybody in the league who could have held him. He had 38 points. But Matthews is starting to find his spot. Tonight he had 34 minutes, only had 14 points. But I want you to think about how many times we looked at the starting lineup last year, and you only saw 2 starters in double digits, LeBron and AD. And all of the rest of the scoring would either come from the bench, or it would come at the free throw line or something crazy like that. For the most part, what we saw tonight is what I believe is going to be the consistency of Wesley Matthews going forward. Once again, this is why we have to give patience to a lot of these new players. He was not doing well in the first few games. He's been doing well in these last few games. He'll probably have a slump somewhere in the future, but we have to be patient, because now that you know that he can hit four threes, that matters. That matters in the playoffs. That matters against tough teams. That matters in these tough games, in these close games. And part of the reason why we've been winning these close games has been our three-point shooting has kind of overcome our interior defense. And it's good to see that Wesley Matthews has come into his own. And I really do hope that this stays as a trend and he actually grows from that. Yeah. Al Sanchez and Matthews did a good job on LaVine. And listen, LaVine he was cooking, man. When you have a player like LaVine who's cooking, I know a lot of us are like, why don't we just double him? And why don't we just... The issue with that is that when he's making shots that nobody seems to be able to stop there's really little you can do. And then Kobe White got hot for a minute, had 10 straight points for them, was hitting tough threes. When that kind of stuff goes, what your job is to defend the best you can, withstand the run, and then respond. Sometimes your defense is not going to be the answer to that. Sometimes it's going to be, can you stop the run with offense and get their momentum to slow down long enough for you to get into your offense and get into your defense half-court set. And tonight the Lakers were able to do that at a couple of points, but for the most part, Zach LaVine cooked us. And you're going to see that a lot. You're going to see a Dame Lillard. You're going to see a Steph Curry probably. You're going to see a lot of these teams that are going to have players that go off against this. What's going to keep us in the game is our ability to respond to these runs and that we just have depth. The Bulls came out hot and that first quarter, and you just saw them kind of taper off going all the way towards the end. They hit some tough shots, but their offense was nowhere near as fluid as it was in the very beginning. And that was the reason why the Lakers were able to multiple times get the lead. That's why this team is so tough. It's not how they come. It's not about how they start in the beginning of a game. We've seen the Lakers start with a double-digit lead. We've seen them start with a double-digit deficit. And in both scenarios, we've seen them by the fourth quarter, they step in and do their thing. And I have to just say it again. I've said it every post game that I've been on here. LeBron James is the difference. Look at this man's point totals tonight. He had 34 minutes. Obviously, AD wasn't there, so he played more. But tonight, 28 points with 7 rebounds and 7 assists. The Lakers do not win without LeBron James being able to do what he did. Now, I will say there's one part that I did not like, and I think we all know what that part was. The issue that we had tonight was when it was crunch time, he tried that 3. And this is what we saw a little bit like when he first got here, his first year with the Lakers, when it was Lonzo and them. The issue that we had was that we counted it towards the groin injury, but seems to be a mentality with him. That instead of driving to the cup, when he wants to take it easy and relax, he relies on that 3. And once again, percentage-wise, nobody has hit more crunch time shots than LeBron James. Nobody. Not Jordan, nobody. He has the highest percentage. He's taken the most shots when it comes down to that. So you trust him in these moments, period. But when he takes those threes, you just know in your head he's not fully committed in that moment. And a lot of that has to do with saving himself for the playoffs, and I'm fine with that. But in these cases, that really could have cost us the game. I question and wonder everything that goes through Kuz's head when he gets the ball. All black everything on Periscope. Yeah, his decision-making seems to be he seems to have several thoughts that go through his head, and he's trying to figure it out. What we've seen from these players like Kobe White, or even Otto Porter, who obviously didn't get a chance to play as much tonight due to injury, but a lot of these players, Zach LaVine, they're just going for it. And when we see Kuzma at his best is when he has zero inhibitions. He's just going for it. He's not worried about anything. Even if he misses, his aggressiveness, his decision-making as soon as he gets the ball, he knows what he's going to do. If he's going to drive to the cup, he's going to drive to the cup. If he's going to shoot and catch and shoot, he's going to catch and shoot. What we're noticing now is he'll do a pump fake or maybe sometimes he'll dribble and turn and try to post down, and for the most part, he's going to pass out of it. And that is not Kuzma's game. And I think part of the reason why he didn't start tonight and part of the reason why he played less minutes than Gasol was because you could tell from the first 5 minutes of him playing, he did not have an attack mentality. A lack of an attack mentality, that confidence that made us fall in love with Kuzma in Summer League and fall in love with him in his first year. That what made us fall in love with this dude was his ability to be aggressive and go for it. And he even said it before. I don't care if Jesus is in front of me, I'm going to shoot it. Well, you can't turn that off and on. And part of the Laker brand, and we're going with Kobe, we're going, of course, with LeBron, we're going with Shaq, we're going with Magic, we're going with these guys. Our history says this: when you have that mentality, you never turn it off. You are that person for the rest of not your career, the rest of your life. All I know is that if you call Shaq right now, that's the reason why Shaq talks crap the way he does, is because he does not know how to turn off that confidence. So he'll talk about anybody. Rudy Gobert, he can get smoked too. He does that because that's the mentality. Kuzma does not have that mentality all the time, which is very strange for us, and it's showing up in his play. Okay, man, Ariel Marcelli, man, I feel bad for Kuz. He's going out sad. I think he's going to come trade deadline or by the summer. Ariel, thank you for that comment. I do not believe that he will be traded. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say that now. I don't believe he'll be traded. I believe that you're gonna see him being adjusted in his minutes, but I do not believe he'll be traded. Now it's always a possibility, but I don't see it. I don't see it. Number one, I don't see who's gonna take him. Number two, I don't see who you get back. That of course we'll see. We don't know what's gonna happen by the trade deadline. But this is such a weird year. I just don't know. But you're right. His consistency is showing. His inconsistency is showing up, and it's starting to make a difference in the coaching, the coach's decision, and in the fans' perspective. So, okay, Gasol needs to make threes. Out, yeah, he does need to make them, but he got to keep attempting them if he's going to make them. The Sports Beard. Ever since Kuzma got his new contract, his play has suffered. Do you think that has affected him in any way? I think Kuzma. I think Kuzma got his money. I don't think that was the contract he was looking for. Let me first start by saying that. But I do believe that's the contract he knew that's the only contract he could get. Because people know he has potential, but has not. He really hasn't garnered the amount of attention for him to be able to say, I can reject that offer and become a restricted free agent and get more money on the market. It's just there's not enough teams out there that really care that much. And there's not enough teams that really need him in that area. So for the most part, I think the contract is more about him now. He got the contract, but I really do feel like he still feels like he has more to prove because he knows he hasn't been consistent. And that contract, as good as it is for him, right? And the Lakers did him a solid by giving that extension. I think he knows that he needs to pick up his level of play, and he has to figure out how to do that in this offense. This is different than that Puma commercial where you're shooting in the gym by yourself. You can make buckets all day and call and ones when nobody's fouling you. But when you have somebody who's on your behind and you have no way of taking them off the dribble, it's going to show up in your gameplay, it's going to show up on the film room, and then it's going to show up in your minutes. And we saw that tonight. Vogel said, this is Kesco Jr. on Periscope. Good to see you. Vogel said he started Wesley Matthews because of his analytics against Zach LaVine. See, now once again, that makes a difference. But Kesco, and I thank you for that. I do believe, though, not just against Zach LaVine, I think it has something to do with the consistency of how Wesley Matthews has been playing in these past several games. And yes, analytically it's good, but if Wesley wasn't playing well, I don't think he gets those minutes. And so I think that's the same thing for Kuzma. Kuzma, if he was playing well, it would have been a harder decision for Vogel. I don't think Vogel was thinking too hard on this one. Our own Chris Camello from a Showtime Forum, of course, our guy who leads the podcast with our own Chaz Pearson. He says Zach LaVine is a top 5 shooting guard talent-wise. Yeah, it really feels like Zach has made a decision that he is going to be talked about this year. He's been playing tremendous. He's always had talent, but he's been adding. His shooting has gone to a new level. And shouts out to him, man. He did his thing tonight. Nobody's mad at it for, all the best to him. But at the end of the day, the IQ with the talent is ultimately what causes people to go from good to great, and that's what makes LeBron so incredible. Is his ability to go from good to great is really built on his IQ. Just watching some of those plays in the stretch, even when he was able to find Wesley Matthews and find these guys in the corner and doing what he was doing, he knew he was telling people to clear out. He knew the switches that he wanted. He knew the players that he wanted to get on. And his mind is able to utilize his talent to manipulate the defense to get his talents and his skills to be seen at a new level. So, shouts out to Vogel, but I really do. I think the next game you may see Wesley Matthews again, depending on how it's gonna go. LaVine was superb tonight, but Lakers did a better job on him defensively as the game went on. Yeah, and I think that's kind of thing you're gonna see now, right? As they're trying to figure out their defense, what exactly does it look like? For them to make adjustments throughout the game. We've seen this already with this team last year. Vogel is a person who will adjust at halftime or even sometimes in between quarters. And so whatever he decided to teach them or tell them to adjust for Zach, these are things that you're looking for to be automatic, that Vogel doesn't even have to say these things by the time you get to the second half of the season. So a lot of this is going to be learning for the next 20 to 30 games, okay? And then when you start getting towards the end of the season, what you're looking for is, do the players know to do these defensive things on hot players like Zach without me having to tell them? Do they know how to keep the defensive intensity in the second quarter, first quarter, and keep it all the way through the fourth? What made the Lakers so dangerous last year was, even if they weren't shooting well, they could hold you underneath 90 points or hold you underneath 100 points. And they would let their defense suffocate you from start to finish. And that's not the identity of this team. They're going to have to find a way to make adjustments, be more legitimate on defense where other teams begin to respect them. Gasol is wrong sort of anchor up for the defense. He isn't steadying the ship down low, more weighing the team down. Trez needs to play more minutes than Gasol every game if AD is playing or not. And listen, for the most part, Trez does. Tonight, Gasol played 19 minutes and Trez played 29. So you're gonna see, you don't see Gasol out there a lot. In fact, I don't remember. It may have been once where I've seen him play more than 20 minutes. And Marc Gasol is not there for defensive presence. That's something that they're hoping he can get going. That's the, I'll be honest to God truth. It's his size and his ability to take up space right now. But you know they're gonna find another athletic big to split these minutes with Marc, because number one, Mark's not begging for minutes. That's not why he came to this team. He came to this team because, as he said, I saw a chance to win. That's number one. And his IQ matched with LeBron's IQ really opens up the floor for the shooters that they got. Now, if you had another big being able to anchor down low and allowing Mark to be able to pass up high, it opens up the offense in a whole different way. We won't know what that looks like until after the trade deadline. But yeah, as what you're seeing right now, it's them just trying to figure things out until they can get an athletic big. Tan Marino, our own Justin Stover on Twitch. What's up, Devon? Man, we are barely squeaking by. Win's a win, but was hoping for more of a convincing outing. Despite AD being out, one thing I've noticed is that LeBron had noticeably improved his mid-range game. Love seeing those shots falling consistently. Yeah, whatever he's been working on with Phil Handy and that turnaround, that one-leg turnaround, or that, it's just, man, it is beautiful to watch. We've seen it from the top, we've seen it from the elbow, we've seen it from the baseline. He has got that thing down, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, and it's not barely making it. It is a thing of beauty. I mean, nothing but net. And it's good to see him add that to his game. I think it's going to preserve him from having to get hacked when he goes inside. But what I don't want him to do is rely on his three-point range shoot. He can shoot from the logo if he wants to. But when he relies on that to be his offense, I want that to be something that he does because he can, not necessarily because that's the only thing he decides to do. And that's my thing. Rely on that mid-range and rely on your passing, right? But I think he's trying to preserve his body from the hacks that he goes inside. So that turnaround is really going to benefit him. Blake Sinclair on YouTube. That vending machine trade for Kuzma is looking pretty good right now. It stocks Pepsi, Coca-Cola, best of both worlds. Pull the trigger, Pelinka. Yeah, don't look for Kuz to be traded. I don't see it happening. I got to hurry up. I'm running out of time. Kuz is a solid 20-point per game scorer on any team. He just needs to find it. He lacks that aggressiveness. Yeah. I mean, listen, this is what separated him from B.I., right? Now, if we could have had B.I. say, okay, I'm going to be the best scorer off the bench, then B.I. would have been the perfect choice. But we knew that dude was destined to be a alpha, a leader of a team. He's a leader of the Pelicans, period. Brandon Ingram, I don't care who else is on that team. Zion, Lonzo, anybody. He's a leader of that team. They know that Brandon Ingram got the juice. That's not going to work on this team. And so Kuzma was kind of the last one we can be left with. And to be honest with you, he has to find that aggressiveness that Brandon had. And to be honest, and what I love about Brandon is you never hear Brandon talk. Kuzma, you're constantly hearing him talk. I'll shoot even if Jesus is in front of me. I heard all the chatter. Just don't talk. Just let your play say it. And your play will show the contract. Will show in your contract. It'll show in your minutes. It'll show in your coverage. It'll show in your endorsements. Just let that do the talking for you. Hopefully he'll keep his talk to a minimum and let his aggressiveness come out. Kuzma reminds me of Bynum. When Bynum wasn't aggressive early, his rebounding, shot blocking suffers. Yeah. See, Chris, now that's a great point. But here's the issue with Bynum. Right, here's the issue with Bynum. Bynum, for the most part, it wasn't even so much about aggressiveness as much as it was keeping his head in the game. Even when he was being aggressive, sometimes he would make some boneheaded plays. For Kuzma, it's not even the boneheaded. He has an IQ. He just second guesses way too much. And that comes from a lack of confidence and aggressiveness. So, great comparison. Yeah, Harrison. I think Schroeder needs to come off the bench, allowing LeBron to full control the first unit. Thank you for that comment, Brian, on Periscope. I don't know if it's going to happen. My first response is no, it's not going to happen. But we'll see. I think Schroeder has pretty much solidified himself as a starter in the sense of it's been one of the more consistent things. LeBron, AD, and Schroeder have been the most consistent starters. I mean, outside of Marc Gasol. So We'll see. I think it's not a coincidence that when KCP is out, Schroeder semi suffers in a lot of areas, defensively and offensively. I think when he comes back, it's going to make a difference. Phil Handy is solid. He focuses on angles and important quick step moves. Yeah, absolutely, Brian. He does, and that's why he essentially he wins championships everywhere he goes, because he's thinking about things that just cause the offense to come a little bit easier to shooters when they're in a one-on-one situation. He's constantly talking to them about how to dribble, come out of the dribble. How do you come out of a certain move into a shot, and it feels fluid. It doesn't feel jerky. And when you do those kind of things, you get like what LeBron's doing with that mid-range. Blake St. Clair, my exact point for seasons now, I hear more about Kuzma's game than I see. Exactly. For Kuzma more than anyone, too. Yeah, he has to figure it out. I'm still a huge believer in him. I think that dude has a ton of potential, but now is the time for him to show it. Listen, tonight's not going to be a long stream. It's going to be shorter tonight because where I'm at, it's past midnight. But with that being said, the Lakers once again now 7-3. I want us to just deal with this real quick, and I don't want us to care about standings as much right now because they really don't mean as much. But what I do know is that the Lakers are showing a few things to me that are making me excited and happy about when we get full strength and into the playoffs. They're winning close games. That matters. When you have the experience of winning close games, you know how to lock in. What we're looking for them to do is to lock in early so that we don't have to have close games. I think that's the sentiment of everybody. But as of right now, what we do know is that they're able to win close games. Look at these wins that we've had so far. Okay, look at these wins. We've had a 109-103 win against San Antonio. We had a 115-107 loss to Portland. That was a closer one. 109-116 loss to the Clippers. 118-109 loss to San Antonio. Now, the reason why I'm pointing those things out is because in none of those losses did we lose by double digits. Okay, this is important. Now look at the wins. 138-115, double digit. 127-91, double digit. 121-107, double digit. Do you guys kind of see what's happening here? So what I know, 108-94, double digit. So we've had some close ones, but the games that we win by double digits. And this is what I know. When we're not playing well, we can still win. If we do lose, we're not going to lose by more than single digits. When we are clicking and we're doing it right, we're winning by a large margin. And that's the part that makes me excited. And so now we have a good test right on the road to Houston, out here in my hometown, starting Sunday. So, and Houston has a John Wall, somebody who's not necessarily a Zach LaVine. But they got Harden. There's things that are going on with Houston that are far different than what we're used to. Christian Wood. We've been so used to the Rockets only having a Clint Capella or really no big. Now the one year that we don't have any defensive or interior defense is the year that Christian Wood now is going crazy. So we're gonna have a good test against Houston. If I'm anticipating this, I'm anticipating them splitting the series. Personally, I think they'll probably pick up one of two. It'd be great if they get two, but we'll see on that. Jose Hernandez on Periscope. Clippers choke yet another lead. Yeah, man. I'm not. I'm gonna leave them alone for right now, but please believe I'm watching. So with that being said, guys, it's gonna be a shorter stream tonight. I appreciate you guys hopping on with me tonight. But listen. We are back here Sunday. I'm going to drag Chaz on here somewhere. I don't know where he at, but I'm going to drag him on here. But we'll be back here for Houston. Pay attention to everything that you're watching with Houston. How's the defensive spacing for us? Are we able to get consistency out of our bench, much like we did tonight? We had some pretty good moments tonight from our bench. Alex Caruso had some good moments, had some bad ones, but he had some good ones as well. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to discuss all of that when it comes down on Sunday. Until then, I will check y'all later. Remember, Mamba out, but not forgotten.